Change management. This is the realities edition. J'aimerais engager un avocat spécialisé dans les droits de l'homme international. Mon cas a été présenté à la presse au Canada. Je suis le porte-parole de 5 groupes dans l'action en justice contre les États-Unis. J'ai tout examiné, j'ai beaucoup de preuves. In the media, it seems that the ICC is going to be the change, who is in charge of the world. Know that the World Trade Center is one World Trade Center. It seems that Karim Khan is a good judge regarding Israel, and it seems that he's a good judge regarding the Philippines and drugs. So these are all the cases that the ICC is handling right now. And Canadian Prime Minister said that we have to stand by international law. But I hope he's not just another politician saying something for the media. Because we have all these, it's very hard to read them, but I read them and I can see they're in charge all over the world in 195 countries. One cause of action is the genocide in Gaza. This is just another definition of cause of action. Here's the history which is troubling for the United States. Frederick Trump, in 1869, he was in Germany. And they had the Holocaust from 1933 to 1945, and they seized 775 million from the Jews who they killed. Now, Trump's father went to the United States, had whorehouses, and then he went back to Germany and brought back $80 million. If you Google it, you can see all things. And this is a chart of what they were seizing from the Jews as they killed them. And that's who Trump is. That's the president. He's descended from this. And now he reduced the taxes for the rich from 21% to 15%. My reality. October 9, 2024, my Jamaican banker was replaced by an African-American banker. I opened that account for my Social Security retirement. I have not started putting it there yet, but I trusted my Jamaican banker. Then an African-American banker was put in place. Now, as it stands, I have other videos regarding my case, but I'm the spokesperson for 5 groups, and I'm counting on Canada to help us because the Canadian Prime Minister said that we have to stand by international law. I hope he is. But the other video is about my actual case details, but the reason why I do not trust the African Americans is also in the other videos. But when I saw my Jamaican banker pushed out of my credit union, I knew it was a reason that because I had a I Think Financial Credit Union account and they took $25 out of the account and closed the account. So now they're going to target my Social Security retirement. I've already contacted the president of the bank, the banking committee, and other intranet about this situation. But I'm still going to pursue my cause of action and the cause for 5 groups. Something really weird happened to me. I called the state, and the African American was so excited that she said, Norma left. That means that the state of Florida is networking and interfacing with the city municipalities and a lady, a white woman of 37 years, was pushed out of the city of Delray Beach. Then I was also pushed out, and the African Americans took over. That's one of the signs of the coup d'etat. The coup d'etat is a different video. So how intrusive is it? I have to teach people how to communicate, because now that the American court toyed with Trump, showed itself to be invalid, and then reversed Roe versus Wade and became truly invalid, which could be witnessed all over the world, we know that we have to teach people like these people who get so angry. We have to let them understand the English. That's all they really need. We need to go to court. No, I think that Obama got some kind of permission because he got rid of Osama. When President Obama was president, he helped America to kill Osama. And Chase Bank was given $12 billion TARP bailout. And I see some of the money is being used for free phones for a lot of African Americans who don't work. Now, the permission, which I thought existed, was confirmed by Dick Cheney, because Dick Cheney said he's doing the permission structure. And I just take pictures and screenshots of the videos. Here's another permission that Meryl Streep was talking about. Donald Trump was ridiculing a handicapped person and imitating his disability. And she was upset about it because he's giving permission to normalize evil acts in the community. Here's another permission. When I worked for the city of Delray Beach, I worked 3 jobs and I closed for sale by owner on a condominium. I went home one night and there were police, sheriff over there flashing their lights. So when I went over there, I thought it was a crime being committed. They said, no, we're looking for you. And I went over there. So I guess the sheriff, maybe they still remember me because I was in Boca working, and I get to work early because of the owner. But 6:45 a.m. Saturday, March 18, 2022, 2 sheriffs were in the jurisdiction of Boca Raton Police. But this was a whole other video, and I contacted the FBI about some action, and the FBI said, maybe the FBI is too busy, but the FBI said the police were investigating me. Well, everything anybody wants to know is on YouTube right now. So the permission which I have seen is so intrusive that I gave it an acronym. Well, first we're looking at the permission. So the white permission, like what Dick Cheney was talking about, I call it WAPA, and Obama giving all the poor Black people, even on welfare who are not working, free phones, and how they're using it. Because I went to work in North Palm Beach County, and for 4 days I had 4 kind of stalking bullying. They were talking about something that happened in Boca Raton all the way in North Palm Beach County. So what it's doing, it's intrusive and it's affecting my career, so I'm working online. So I call it Obama Free Phone, Pre-Conquest Bragging, Nigger Gang Stalking Bullying, which is OFNA. So the eternal coup d'etat at the time of Napoleon, you can see this is inside a courtroom. Well, I experienced the coup d'etat internally at Changing Lives. I am a volunteer hostess there, and that's another video regarding coup d'etat, but this was what I experienced this Saturday. He wouldn't let me do a presentation. They want to restrict me as much as possible. The African Americans have taken over power of every little thing. And this is the external coup d'etat, which is the African American state trooper, which ticketed my car back to back and towed my car. And he was also inside my house, violating my Fourth Amendment rights. He was on both properties. Now, the reason why I started using the term coup d'etat is because the Trump Republican Party decided to say they're doing a soft coup d'etat, which is a blueprint for a soft coup d'etat, which is Project 225. So that's when it was a wake-up call for me that about coup d'etats. But they're doing a soft coup d'etat, but it will affect us a lot because they're not paying student loans, etc. So the only living pilots look like the Trump Miss Universe contestants. I was looking at the videos. I guess they're killing off all the ugly people, but the MAGA video has a lot of ugly men, and they don't dress well either. So Trump is saying, do something. Don't complain about a problem. He said, fix it. But of course, you know, they're talking, they're not actually doing anything. Everybody cares about their paycheck and their house, their car, their shopping, and their lifestyle. So Kamala Harris and Shamala said their mother said, don't just complain, do something. But we saw that there was record-breaking Zoom meetings for Kamala Harris, and there was black woman Zoom meeting, white woman Zoom meeting, Gen Z, stars, all kind of things. We still end up with the King Trump. Kamala Harris says anyone who beats down another is a coward. Meghan Markle said we should look for the possibilities. But John Sarbanes and his father are both senators. And John Sarbanes said that it was 300 million Americans against big money. So we can see that some people might want to have 31 million rich Americans alive and 300 million dead replaced by robots. That's a probability. Trump did say love yourself. Trump now has a robot dog guarding Mar-a-Lago. These are all the big men in the world. We just don't know who's telling the truth. We know BRICS is rising up. They say things for the media. So Tesla's Elon Musk said he paid $15 billion in taxes or something like that. But Trump pardoned Kushner and Batmasian, who didn't pay their taxes and they went to prison. So most presidents are big men except for the female German prime minister. Germany has the most gold, second most stockpile of gold. So the probability is that we will have 31 million with robots working. And we saw Elon Musk with a robot helping him cook and helping him move his groceries around. There are nurses, they do construction, they work in teams. And Kim Kardashian now has a Tesla robot too. So Trump reduces the taxes for the big companies, and the big companies will be able to afford the robots which start at $30,000. And then the misogyny that they have started can be practiced, as you see with the female pilots. So it is a crisis because the Republicans are admitting that it's a soft coup d'etat. The African Americans executed an internal and external coup d'etat. They send people to do things. They send people to stalk. They call and stalk. They show the art of devaluing and degrading a woman. And now the Republicans won, and the Republicans are led by a Nazi. Now, the people were sent to my country in 1967, and I had 3 different groups of Americans who impacted my life at age 10. But now I understand everything, and it's clearer, so I try to let other people know. So already discussed that. But was something that was very discouraging to me was that Kanye West was showing us the art of degrading and devaluing his own wife by having his wife do oral sex in public. And I was so disgusted. I was like, somebody needs to arrest him. I was so ashamed. I felt really bad for the lady. But here's what the African Americans were showing: the art of devaluing and degrading a woman. And it's really symbolic because your face is your identity. And China has a company called Face with everybody's face on it, and you can walk through the airport and they identify you. But you can see that O.J. Simpson's wife, her face was mutilated, and also Rihanna, when Chris beat her up, her face was mutilated. But she was also stabbed to death. So the facial mutilation was just a little add-on, but it was symbolic. So Meghan Markle, at 10 years old, was looking at the psychological attacks on women. That was before we had the symbolical facial mutilation, misogyny. And I was at a fraternity party and they had music about whores on your tippy toes. So when the Republicans reversed Roe versus Wade, Trump had bought Kushner's bought a $340 million property from the Jehovah's Witnesses. And Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe in abortion. And their second leader, Rutherford, was a judge. So it looks like they are aligned. So Dr. R. Douglas Fields did say humans are genetically predisposed to kill each other. I have a different thinking style because of my culture, and I have different expectations. So it disappoints me a lot. And when I went to FAU, I graduated, and when I came back is when I became aware of the anthropology department, and I talked to the head of the anthropology department and other people and was reading, and Draper said that hunter-gatherers use gossip, ridicule, ostracism as social control. And also, I observed that when the social controls erode, it turns into misogyny, treating women differently from men in social and professional settings. Like what happened to me on my fourth government job, that was misogyny. And of course, I'll be going to court based on that because it was my fourth government job. Also, threatening, aggressive, intimidating, and violent behavior is also misogyny. So will they get away with it? Well, this is very deep-rooted because O.J. Simpson's wife's sisters, they have a foundation, but they could not think and try to interrupt things for other women. Other women need to email me before the series or the paradigm of the valuing and degrading a woman gets to a certain point, the point of no return. But these women do not realize that's what they need to do. They have gangs in government, and they said the grief is really just as bad after 30 years. Well, as Kamala Harris and others said, do something. We have to do prevention by support system. We have to do detection to look at the series or paradigm when a woman is being devalued and degraded. If they are doing unfair termination or illegal work termination or work interruption, it is clear that the American courts are invalid because they toyed with Donald Trump so miserably like he was a child or a clown. And then they reversed Roe versus Wade. We all know voted on abortion, and we need to improve women's health care. So we're not going to have the Kamalanomics, but she did try to move the needle a little bit so people would think, take action, do something. So being specific, I feel that the Caribbean diaspora is spread very well globally because I studied French and my best friend studied German and French. She studied French with me. She lives in Germany. And I have two sisters in the UK, so they're older half sisters. So I feel like the Caribbean diaspora is spread enough globally to not have geographical erosion of the efforts. Caribbean diaspora all over the world. They actually had a dialogue before I found out. I knew about Black Lives Matter. I was just looking around and I saw this one, Caribbean Diaspora Lives Matter. Join this powerful dialogue. It says, believe in your culture because it matters. Caribbean Lives Matter, represent your country, drop your selfie. So it was already there. And then we have a group called Time Done. And you know, there are so many protests. And I realized that Americans protest. They get very angry. And 2 weeks later, they go to Walmart, they drive to work, they drive home, and they forget. And then you have the same thing being normalized and getting worse and worse. But something became very clear. In Seattle, Washington, a police named Officer Audra gave us something new to look at. A graduate student was killed, and he said that she was of limited value, just cut a check. So limited value is the new group. I tried to do a presentation at a group to let them know they were not alone, that they're part of the LV. We won't repeat the word limited value because we don't want to use evil words. Like Ivanka said, Jewish religion does not allow you to do evil words because it's like evil speech is like murder. I would thank Ivanka Trump for clarifying that teaching. But this is a transcript of the dash cam. So we'll just call it LV, and you're not alone. Here's another protest, the light fires get arrested and everything. And then 2 weeks later, they drive to Walmart, they drive to work, they drive home. And they don't do anything. So we're reaching out to victims. Please begin to collect evidence and videos, organize Zoom calls. We are gonna get the numerous pro bono international human rights attorneys. We also have contacted 25 of the 27 international human rights organizations. And we are organizing a delegation to the attorneys and a delegation to the ICC because the ICC is very, very extremely active right now. They're actually taking charge of the world, and we have the Prime Minister of Canada also showing his support. I want you to trust the ICC because one country got a verdict of $900 million. We are planning on a verdict of US $500 million. Harvard University had a lecture about the correctives. They're admitting that people have differences, race, family, background, language, class, beliefs, customs, norms, tastes, ways of thinking. And the new difference is legacy, like Trump attended Wharton so his kids can attend Wharton. Obama's attended Harvard so the kids can attend Harvard. But the corrective is also to have justice in the international court. So there are many verdicts in the past since 2008 and many verdicts 2022. So we do not think that that is too far from what we should expect. There were 8 judges of the International Court. Now there are 18 judges. I was just thanking Florida Atlantic University so I could do my research here. I could make my videos. I graduated some time ago, but I'm back here doing it. So this is just another Caribbean diaspora global map. But as Michelle Obama said, a country so rich. She was campaigning with Kamala Harris, and she made that comment. And I'm pointing out that whole thing too, because China said they were going to dethrone the US dollar because China was also objecting to IMF used to charge countries so much to infrastructure project financing that it broke a lot of countries. And so China said they would dethrone the US dollar. However, US dollar reserves in the bank still stand really, really high. Since World War II, USA was given this gift to control trade, and all trade was completed in US dollar currency. But I had three different groups of Americans flying to Jamaica to impact my life at 10 years old. But I studied management at FAU. But leadership is about coping with change. And today we had Kamala try to manage the country and she did not get it. But Harvard Business Review, which I used all through my senior year, said today we are overmanaged and underled. We have to move the needle. That's a quote from Doug and Kamala, which means we have to make a noticeable change or impact or modify something. What was taken from me? This is my little tyke in Jamaica at my mother's house. My mother's house was in front of the elementary school. My sister sent me this picture, and I had gone through 5 stages of grieving, but sent me this picture and I went into another gear because I read this moment when my little tyke was sitting with my grandmother was a moment from God, and I wish I had left him in Jamaica because he'd be alive today. So what they have taken from me, I don't think it's just the African Americans. I would say it's just Americans. My little tyke, my 4th government job, my condo, my house, my health. So this is how we handle gifted children. This boy is autistic, but he's passed some gifted tests. Some autistic people are good at music. He is in Oxford at 6 years old. This is my son. He tested gifted at 6. And my ex-husband took him out of his school. He subjugated him and had him waking up before school taking care of dogs. And then he had him and his brother clean the house for his second wife. This is my gifted nephew. He's a PhD in neurosurgery. And he went back to his school to thank his school. She was also taken from me. She was the best mother in our clan. I was talking to my sister who's in New York. When I got scared before, I went to my sister in New York. I'm not going to run now. I was telling her, this is a diagram of, she's on myheritage.com and all kind of website, but the synergy we had in our clan was really good for the children and everybody in our family. And then the Americans came when I was 10 and took me away from my family. And the people who took me away from my family sold a $340 million property to the Kushners when Trump was president. So they revealed themselves. But churches are known to be very wealthy. Here's Catholic churches are worth $73 billion. Seventh-day Adventists were 15.6 billion, Church of England 13.84 billion, Church of Sweden 11.41 billion, Trinity Church 6 billion, and Jehovah's Witnesses are worth 23 billion land and buildings, including property in Jamaica. But most churches do not sell to the president or the president's family or the president's in-laws who are the Kushners. So that's the business model. They sold this property to Kushners when Trump was president. So you can see that Trump, Kushners, Jehovah's Witnesses, and all their 23 billion in land and buildings all over the world, Serena Williams, they're all aligned. So I did a little research, and Judge Rutherford, who was the second president of the Jehovah's Witnesses, he was descended from George Washington. So you can Google it and get all the details. It's pretty interesting. So he had a president in his ancestry, and he did business with the president later. So the activists are Kamala, Maya, and Mina. I've been contacting Maya and Mina, and I went through the Washington Post to try to talk to Kamala. I'll still try to communicate with them. I don't know if anybody cares, but if I cannot get the 5 groups in a delegation to go to the International Court to do a cause of action together, because it's all similar actions. If it's your Fourth Amendment rights, if you are terminated from a job, there are so many different things, and it can be obvious to you that it doesn't feel right, but then when you talk to somebody else, you can confirm the law. So I was in Marsden Park, and Marsden Park looks like the upper section of Paris, and Europe is the motherland. Christopher Columbus, they all came here from the motherland, and they try to make it look at, well, this is the upper section of Paris. And when I was there, Europeans are very quiet people. Americans talk a lot and they bully a lot, and as Hal Draper says, they use gossip, ridicule, and ostracism, so it's noisy. So I am the spokesperson for these 5 groups, and I also want to communicate. I try to communicate through the press in Canada, and I don't know what will happen regarding the Prime Minister of Canada, because they do really like Jamaicans in Toronto, and I have family in Canada. But I would like to do Global TV as a spokesperson for everybody. Nothing the USA could give me would be sufficient. But if the USA has to pay these fines, it may change the thinking. It would stop the cover-ups. Cover-ups need to be exposed. They did have a show called 60 Minutes and a show called 2020. I don't know what they were exposing. I feel like there's so much betrayal in the United States that we don't know what's true and we don't know what's false. So let me know. This is my email address, emmt@gmx.com. This is my phone number, 728-777-5959. The Facebook group has the delegation. So if you want to get moving with all our evidence and everything we have and talk to our attorney and everything, please join the Facebook group. Let me know what was taken from your email, text, call, video, YouTube. Me and my daddy are Cuban fighters. When I was 9, my dad started giving me lessons in bravery. He had 6 daughters, and I'm the only one of his 6 daughters who he gave lessons in bravery.